Good evening, and welcome back to News Around, the only digital sanctuary where the lines between art, life, and destiny blur into a single, compelling narrative. We do not simply report the headlines here, we peel back the layers of the glossy surface to reveal the beating heart of the stories that keep you awake at night. Today, we are standing on the precipice of a revelation that could very well redefine the landscape of Turkish television for the coming decade. It is a story of silence, of symbols, and of a chemistry so potent it refuses to be extinguished by time. If you believe that some stories are written in the stars before they are ever written on paper, you have found your home. Before we descend into this labyrinth of clues and passion, I invite you to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell. And for those who wish to walk this path with us as true insiders, supporting independent journalism that fears no question, please consider clicking the join button below to become a privileged member of the News Around family. Your support is the fuel that keeps our lights burning. Now, let us unravel the mystery of Cenk Torun and Mahassine Merabet. It all began not with a thunderclap, but with the quiet, blinding gentleness of a dawn that promised to change everything. The catalyst for this seismic shift in the entertainment world was the official announcement of a new, high-profile production, a project shrouded in secrecy but radiating the kind of gravitational pull that only true blockbusters possess. The headline alone was enough to stop the scroll of any social media timeline. Cenk Torun, a man whose screen presence is less about acting and more about inhabiting a soul, has been confirmed as the male lead. But while the ink on the contract was certainly cause for celebration, it wasn't the legal confirmation that made the wrists of his fanbase tremble with anticipation. It was a single, cryptic sentence that fell from Cenk's lips during a seemingly routine, behind-the-scenes interview. He did not offer the usual, rehearsed platitudes about hard work or excitement. Instead, he looked into the camera lens with that burning, terrifying calm that defines him, and spoke in a voice measured by the weight of experience. This project, he murmured, his eyes drifting for a fraction of a second, seems to close open chapters, or perhaps, it is here to reopen others where the heart hasn't finished speaking yet. This was not a throwaway comment. It was a riddle disguised as a professional observation. To the uninitiated, it might have sounded like poetic fluff. But to those who have tracked the trajectory of his career, it was an earthquake. The phrase closing chapters carries the heavy, melancholic burden of a past that refuses to stay buried, while the concept of reopening them carries the distinct, ozone scent of a storm returning. As soon as the echo of that statement began to spread across the digital ether, the internet didn't just react, it caught fire. The collective consciousness of the fandom immediately began to read between the lines. Was he alluding to her? Could that unresolved, imperfect circle he spoke of have the silhouette of Mahassine Merabet, the woman with whom he shared an understanding that still burns like a brand in the collective memory of the audience? It wasn't just hope, it was forensic analysis of the heart. The timelines filled with hypotheses, weaving a tapestry of what ifs. What if this very series was not just a job, but the pretext, the framework, the vessel designed by the universe to bring these two names back into the same frame? And then, as if fate itself had stepped in to direct the scene, the answer from the other half of this equation arrived with a timing so perfect it felt cinematic. This brings us to a moment of reflection for you, our vivid News Around community. Do you believe in the concept of right person, wrong time? Do you think Jenk and Mahassin are a testament to the idea that true connections eventually find their way back? We want to read your deepest theories and feelings in the comments section below. And while you are there, tell us, if you could write the first scene of their reunion, what would it look like? Your imagination fuels our analysis. On the very same day Cenk's words were making their rounds in the breathless newsrooms of Istanbul, Mahassine Merabet posted an Instagram story that defied the logic of coincidence. It did not look like a simple personal update, it looked like a deliberate signal flare fired into the night sky. The image was strikingly, almost aggressively simple, a bound script, thick with potential, lying on a weathered wooden table, accompanied by a steaming cup of coffee. But the caption was the true shockwave: sometimes the past comes knocking again with a plot we haven't heard yet. That sentence contained multitudes. It reframed the past not as a fading shadow to be escaped, but as a living presence returning with a new voice, a new demand. The linguistic bridge between Cenk's reopening chapters and Mahassin's past knocking, occurring within the same 24-hour span, challenges the very concept of chance. It seemed like impeccable direction from a higher power. The suspicion solidified into a theory that script on Mahassin's table was the physical manifestation of the project Jenk had already accepted. The mere possibility of seeing them together again has rekindled a fire in the eyes of those who loved them, a dream that encompasses not just the characters they might play, but the palpable electricity that exists when the director yells cut. Curiosity turned to feverish excitement when Jenk, in a subsequent interview with a local newspaper, was pressed on the topic that hangs over his career like a heavy, pregnant cloud. Would he work with Mahassin again? A less experienced actor, or one with something to hide, would have hesitated. He would have stuttered or deflected. Jenk did neither. He chose the higher path, subtle yet crystal clear. "She is an extraordinary actress," he began, his voice dropping an octave. "Working with someone who shares your inner tempo, the same emotional cadence, becomes a privilege. If fate aligns the steps, it can happen again." We must pause to dissect that phrasing. Inner tempo. Acting is a dance, an invisible wave where two souls recognize each other without speaking. To say he shares a special cadence with her is not a professional compliment, it is a confirmation of a rhythm that fits together like a key in a lock. But the most solid piece of evidence does not come from the microphones or the public statements. It comes from the shadows. A source deeply embedded in the production organization, a figure protected by anonymity for obvious reasons, discreetly lifted the veil for us. There were private auditions, a lineup of high-caliber actresses vying for the role, yet one name resonates insistently at every strategy meeting: Mahassine Merabet. The producers are not blind. They are business people who deal in emotion. They know that Jenk and Mahassin together generate a specific frequency of electricity that cannot be taught in drama school or built in a rehearsal room. The same source added a detail that sent shockwaves through the corridors of the industry. Mahassin had apparently received a first draft of the script, and her initial response was surprisingly, overwhelmingly positive. The pieces on the chessboard were moving, and the endgame seemed clearly written. Then, the story descended from the realm of the symbolic to the visceral realm of reality. In the bustling, noisy heart of Istanbul, amid the clinking of fine cutlery and the low buzz of elite conversation, the two were spotted at the same high-end restaurant within the past 48 hours. They arrived and departed in separate cars, a classic, textbook maneuver designed to maintain plausible deniability. But inside those walls, witnesses reported a collision that was anything but casual. There were greetings that carried the warmth of old confidences, pauses that stretched as long as unspoken sentences, and glances that spoke louder than 1,000 pages of dialogue. They looked like two people with a novel to resume, whispered a television presenter who happened to be dining nearby. In those suspended seconds, the past and the possible future recognized each other across the table. As if that weren't enough to ignite the powder keg, the paparazzi and the legion of digital detectives have added fuel to the fire. A top journalist from the country's leading entertainment program sent out a tweet that sent timelines reeling. Something very interesting is happening between Jenk and Mahassin, and not just on a professional level. Attached to this provocative statement was a grainy, almost film noir photograph. It depicted two silhouettes standing on a private terrace at dusk. The ambiguity of that image was the perfect breeding ground for speculation. Was it a production house terrace, a neutral ground to finalize clauses and percentages? Or was it a private refuge, a sanctuary where words could be spoken without the fear of uninvited witnesses? Meanwhile, a sartorial clue emerged from the fashion world. Mahassin was photographed leaving a boutique in the company of a well-known stylist. The very same stylist who, coincidentally, had just signed on to design the costumes for Jenk's new series. As reporters swarmed her, sensing the scoop, the stylist offered a brief, enigmatic smile and a single sentence: "I can't say anything, for now." In this industry, for now is already a preemptive confession. It is a promise of a reveal. And the narrative does not end there. During a spontaneous social media livestream, a fan found the courage to ask the question everyone was holding under their breath: Will you act with Jenk again? Mahassin's reaction was a textbook masterclass in nonverbal communication. There was a smile, barely veiled in nostalgia, a gaze that lowered as if guarding a precious secret, and then, those words that do not close the door but leave it invitingly ajar: never say never. Life has its own way of surprising you. That sentence is not a game. It is a light turned on in a dark hallway. Days rolled into one another, and the silent dialogue between the two continued to be conducted through symbols. At a recent gala, Jenk was again pressed on the subject of Mahassin. He did not choose irony, nor did he choose evasion. He entered the realm of philosophical reflection. There are people who mark the skin of your soul, he said, his voice firm and unwavering. Working with them isn't a stipulation. It's a connection. When the press tried to force him into giving timings and certainties, he simply raised an eyebrow, a gesture of calm, terrifying confidence, and concluded, everything in its own time. This is a man who is preparing the audience not for the possibility, but for the inevitable. Mahassin responded with a visual puzzle of her own. Her profile updated to show a photo of two directors' chairs facing a camera. On one, the letter C, on the other, the letter M. No caption. No explanation. Just those initials, raw and unmistakable, standing side by side. The internet exploded. Is it a memory? Is it a confessed desire? Or is it a fragment stolen from a set that shouldn't yet exist in the eyes of the world? The comments became a river of emotion. Are you telling us something? Don't play with our feelings. The silence of the press offices has become a burning strategy, letting the anticipation tense like a violin string ready to vibrate. And then, the crescendo that makes your wrists tremble. When it seemed the tension had reached its absolute peak, a final shard hit social media. A photograph, purported to be from a closed, high-security set, has begun circulating virally. It shows two figures, shot from behind, immersed in rehearsals for a scene. The alignment of their shoulders, the height difference, the specific, familiar way of standing still yet being ready to shoot. Everything matches the profiles of Cenk Torun and Mahassine Merabet. The image is blurry, likely captured secretly by someone on the crew risking their job, but it has become a digital relic for fans. An anonymous technician whispered the mood in the corridors. The director is thrilled to bring them together. He says emotional truth is achieved when two people with a real story find themselves in front of the camera. That is what we want, emotion that cannot be acted out. Are we witnessing the greatest romantic comeback on Turkish television? Are Cenk Torun and Mahassine Merabet truly destined to reunite, proving that certain bonds can withstand the erosion of time and silence? For now, we live in a no-man's land of winks, silences, and clues that speak louder than 1,000 press conferences. One thing, however, is impossible to deny. The feeling that once made them a cult couple continues to breathe in the hearts of the audience, and perhaps, precisely in that knowing look that neither of them can extinguish. The stage is set, the players are in position, and the curtain is about to rise. Whether this is a new beginning or the grand finale of a long-awaited reunion, one thing is certain: News Around will be here to document every glance, every line, and every moment of truth. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the clues and the chaos. If this deep dive resonated with you, please hit the like button and share this video with the friends who understand why Jenk and Mahassin matter. And remember, if you want to support our channel and help us keep the lights on for independent reporting, click the join button to become a member today. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, keep watching the shadows. Goodbye.